What is up, guys, and welcome back to a brand new video. Today we are racing at the Italian Grand Prix, but more importantly, this is our 50th episode of career mode. I can now safely raise the sim rig. We are halfway there to a century, though I have my doubts as to whether we're actually going to get to 100 episodes. I'm not gonna lie, it's gonna be a short but sweet career mode experience, I think, on this game. I can't believe it's only been 50 episodes. There probably will only be one more season of career mode. We don't want to drag it out any further than what it needs to be. Hell, it might even be 100 episodes if I don't win this season or next season either. But we'll cross that bridge when we get there. Thank you guys for tuning in. We're at a point now in this career mode where we've maxed out pretty much everything. With that final brake upgrade coming, I think, for the next episode, once that's on, the car will be fully developed performance-wise, and then we'll have nothing further to extrapolate out of this car. And still, we are some ways off at times from race-winning pace. At least certainly from a Max Verstappen standpoint, he seems to be unstoppable so far this season. And it shows. 101 point lead in the driver's standings. And then the constructors, well, it's worse. It is way worse. Red Bull look like they've wrapped this one up already. Hopefully this isn't a sign of things to come in the 2022 Formula 1 season. Red Bull looking like they're going to be the richest Formula 1 team with all the sponsorships they're bringing in. But performance update, I mean, we've moved forward slightly, I think. We saw massive gains from Alpine heading into this race, so they are entering the fray. But it's so close, right at the top of the table. We've all maxed out our cars pretty much. I'm hoping with this final brake upgrade, that'll enable Senna to be, hell, maybe like a 10th or 2 faster than what he is. And if that's the case, that'll make a massive difference when it comes to battling with the top guys. We are only losing a small amount of time to the top teams, but it does matter in the end. It matters for grid position. It matters for Etten trying to get through the pack. If he can qualify further up, then, well, he's set up to win Grand Prix, and I think for him it's only a matter of time. Anyway, running through the Friday practice programs, I got a bit distracted there. There's not much to do in terms of R&D stuff now because we're pretty much there. The only thing we have to upgrade now is durability, which I will still do. We have that control electronics we really need to look after, so we're probably going to have to take an engine penalty at some point in this season. I don't want to take it today because I think this is a great chance for us to win the Grand Prix. Monza is a good track for us, so we'll be running with all the engine components we still have. Anyway, time for quali. All right, here we are for the Italian Grand Prix. If anything, probably the least important qualifying of the entire season, simply because of how easy it is to overtake at this place. With all the DRS zones, all the straights, if you're running low downforce, sometimes it can almost feel like free overtakes for nothing. But yeah, we'll wait and see. It's not going to be easy, even if we do start further back and have to overtake people. Being stuck in a DRS train makes things quite difficult, so let's not get involved in that malarkey if we can. Anyway, this is qualifying 1. We have waited a little bit of time. We're not going to use too many sets of tires here because we know we've got the pace. This is Q1 after all. We're in a top running car. We're in a maxed out car, and the difference between the top half of the field and the bottom half of the field is ginormous. For some reason, it's not close at all. It's probably about like 2 seconds separating the top guys from the back guys, so even just a half decent lap like this one here will get me out of Q1, and I just thought I'd show it just to show what the pace is, essentially. Up to the line, 16.5, puts us to the top of the table, actually, and by some margin, 3.5 tenths over Max Verstappen. This is something we've not seen all season, so we might very well have the pace to win this Grand Prix, and by some margin, because the AI normally are slower in the race, they're faster in qualifying. So the fact that we're fast right from the outset, we wheeled the car out from the truck and it's immediately fast, that's a fantastic sign of things to come. Anyway, Q2. Because of my confidence from that first run, I'm going out straight away on the medium compound tyres right at the end of the session. Quite risky, but we're doing 2 runs on this set of tyre right at the end. Charles Leclerc making me a little bit nervous in the Ferrari. I don't know. I don't get the logic there. Why not just wait and leave a little bit more space to the car ahead? He decided he wanted to start the lap right up my rear bumper, which is going to come at a cost of his overall qualifying position through the last corner. The AI are now doing 15s. They've now found like a second compared to what they were doing in Q1. We come across the line, and obviously we're slower on the medium compound tyres, and all of a sudden, this turns from absolute comfort to, well, panic stations, because we are currently outside the top 10 in qualifying on the medium compound tyre. We've got no time to react. The AI are all of a sudden a second a lap faster out of nowhere. There's no possible way to change the difficulty between sessions, so the AI have obviously found something that I can't. Through the last few corners now, into Sector 3, you can see I'm a little bit limited for grip there. I'm running low downforce, I think 6.4 wings, just to maximize the straight line speed of this car. So we're absolutely flying at this stage, almost out of fuel. We should just about be okay to get this lap in. It's going to be an improvement of over 2.5 tenths, but I'm not sure this is going to be enough to get us into Q3 across the line, and it's not. P12 on the grid for the Italian Grand Prix. We've been absolutely hustled. In Q1, we were absolutely in control. Dare I say it, looking a bit OP. Q2 rolls around, and all of a sudden, everyone's like the GOAT in terms of qualifying pace. 15.8. I mean, if I was on the soft, it probably would have been questionable as to whether I would have made it through to Q3 anyway. I had a few tenths in me, but I don't think I had enough to get into Q3. What a joke.
It's time for the Italian Grand Prix once again, here at the beloved and iconic Autodromo Nazionale di Monza. Anthony Davidson joins me once again in the commentary box, and it's fantastic to have you with us here today, but I'm curious, as a man with experience out on the track, how do you stop those pre-race nerves from becoming overwhelming when you're lining up on the grid?
But from the moment qualifying's over, you start to feel the adrenaline in your body build up and the buzz in your stomach as you anticipate the run down into turn 1. It's all a bit like going into battle, and the unknown situation makes you nervous. Those pre-race nerves are a good thing. The day you don't have them means that you don't care anymore. And of course, you have to make sure that all the procedures are second nature to you, so that they're not taking up too much of your capacity.
Off the back of a fantastic qualifying session, it's time to see how our starting grid looks for today's race. Young superstar Max Verstappen starts from pole position, and Lando Norris lines up alongside. As we continue through the rest of the grid today, we have Gasly, Perez, Daniel Ricciardo, and Senna, Hamilton, Sainz, Ocon, and Valtteri Bottas, Benjamin, Tsunoda, Marcus Armstrong, and Latifi, Tigtum, Vettel, Lance Stroll, and George Russell, Giovinazzi, Mick Schumacher, Leclerc, and Nikita Mazepin. And with preparations almost complete, let's head down to the track.
Right, that is a big yikes for Charles Leclerc, starting from the back row of the grid. We move up one place by virtue of someone having a grid penalty. So we're back on strategic pole position once again. We're going to switch to the medium compound tyres, unlike anyone else in this entire field. So yeah, we're going to run the medium, go long, and hopefully absolutely batter these guys. 5 red lights, and we are underway for the Italian Grand Prix. Let's hopefully stick with these guys, because if we can, it's going to be very potent for us at the back end of the race. Heading down into turn 1, you can see the AlphaTauris crowding us a little bit. We get up the inside of those guys, and a Mercedes of Valtteri Bottas round the outside through the second part of the first chicane. And we are back once again where we started. Look at Bottas' straight line speed there. Absolutely yeeting away from us. Even though we're running low downforce, 6-4 wings. Can we get up the inside into this left-hander? Yes, we can. Mount a bit of curb. Maybe too much curb on simulation damage. I think we might just about be okay. You can't touch those curbs. You can't run over them with the underbody of the car anymore. For one reason, well, the car will die. You'll have damage, but also there's the risk it'll spit you out into a barrier. So let's try and avoid that if we can. The change that they made to that, I think it was only a few months ago, has really disrupted the flow of Monza. I mean, previously I loved the flow where you just mount over those curbs and it felt really, really satisfying when you nailed the perfect line. Now you can't touch the curbs, really. But I guess that's more realistic, so that's fair enough. Here's Bottas trying to get around the outside at turn 1. We're not going to have any of that because we want to stick to the next group of cars. I think as this race wears on, Bottas mounts a bit of curb there, and look at that straight line speed. Look at the exit speed. He gets out of the chicane, nearly gets up the inside into Lesmo 1. That is insane acceleration from Bottas there. And that was me having a good run out of that chicane. I got a good exit. The Bottas just came out of nowhere. The AI at this late stage of the game's life cycle are ridiculous, which in a way makes it good, makes it challenging. At least they're not too easy. At least I'm not bored. I'm still getting challenged, which is what we want to see, and hence why we haven't won a championship yet. These guys are on another level. Anyway, as I was saying, the further we get into this race, the more in the game we're going to be. These guys' rear tires are going to start wearing, maybe even slight overheating issues if they push it that little bit too much on heavy fuel. This is Lando Norris having a little go at Max Verstappen, and this is what we need. We need Verstappen to be put under pressure. We need them to battle because this brings me into the game. A fight for the lead holds up everyone, and we're at the back of this little train. So the leaders aren't getting away. I will be in a position where I can probably box in about 10 laps time, have the best tires possible for when the race really starts to open up. At this stage, everyone's kind of boxed in together and unable to really fight, really battle, or run to their true pace, it has to be said. So let's try and make up some track position now. Up the inside of Ocon into turn 1. That was a big send, and I'm glad we got it done. P9 for the taking in this Italian Grand Prix. Look at how far back we came from. That's like 2 car lengths back. Wow. Power. That's the power of brake upgrades right there. And again, another replay from Esteban's on board. I mean, it's a miracle he saw me coming, to be honest. He was nearly at the point where he had to turn in for the corner, and I was already there. So, yeah, brake upgrades working an absolute treat. And this is where you're going to feel the upgrades the most, because the top speeds are just so darn high into heavy braking zones. If you don't have brake upgrades at Monza, you're really, really lacking. I wouldn't like to imagine like what the stopping power of this car would be if we have that final brake upgrade. I think it's an ultimate brake upgrade we've got coming on for next race. We'd probably be able to just have a light dab of the brakes on a turn 1 and we'd be absolutely fine. Here's Carlos Sainz up next. Don't tell me we're going to go for it. We are up the inside of Carlos Sainz. Heavily compromised behind Daniel Ricciardo there. Didn't want to go for the move. Obviously broke a little bit early for the sake of front wing preservation. But there was no preservation about that move from us there. Absolutely everything on the line. And we get the job done on the Ferrari at home turf. P8
Check your MFD
in this Italian Grand Prix. We're getting a strategy change from Jeff. He's saying we can go 2 laps longer on the medium compound tyre. So that says the tyre wear is actually better than what was forecasted. And look at that. We nearly run into the back of Ricciardo into turn 1. So the AI, someone maybe doesn't have a brake upgrade and they're braking earlier into that corner. And it's backing up everyone else into that one corner. So we might be able to get a couple of guys here in these next few laps, especially now that the tyres are dying off. Here's Ayrton into the pit lane now for a set of medium compound tyres, I hope. Should be able to do 17 laps on those tyres. In fact, I think the softs can go to the end of the Grand Prix from here. So we'll just wait and see how it works out for strategy. But there's no strategy there. That is pure racecraft on Daniel Ricciardo. Round the outside at turn 2. Top 5. Top 5 now in this Italian Grand Prix. This race is actually opening up for us a lot earlier than what I thought. Side by side for the leaders. Norris and Verstappen going side by side at the Ascari chicane. Oh, Verstappen's gone! Verstappen has spun off on the exit of the Ascari chicane. And now everyone has been backed up. The Ferrari, the McLarens are now getting involved. Behind me, I've got to fend them off because I didn't have a good exit. I was trying not to run into the back of Hamilton with that massive incident between Norris and Verstappen. It's really thrown a spanner into the works of this Italian Grand Prix. Here's the replay. Verstappen around the outside. I think he's just gone in too deep. It looks like he got a bit of a wriggle on with the rear tyres, possibly overheated, and he couldn't catch the slide. Yeah, he's oversteered, then overcorrected, and it spun him into the grass. Not very often you see that affect the AI. That's a player issue, normally, for tyre temps overheating. But it's nice to see that Max Verstappen is mortal. As we go around the outside of Hamilton at turn 2. What is going on in this race? We did that to Ricciardo last lap. Lewis Hamilton on this lap. Sergio Perez in the other Red Bull has now boxed, leaving me free to chase down Norris without any slipstream. So we could be in the lead of this Italian Grand Prix in about a lap's time. Here's the leaders in the pit lane, with the exception of Lando Norris. We are battling Norris and Sergio Perez for the victory of this race. Also, don't discount Ayrton Senna, who stopped a couple laps earlier and was able to undercut everyone and avoid the backing up after Verstappen's little incident. He's on hard compound tyres though. That is not ideal. I think he might potentially get overrun by some of the medium compound runners once they start to catch up. But speaking of catching up, Norris and Perez are not doing that. They are squabbling with each other, holding each other up and allowing me to overcut them effectively in this race. Look at the train behind Senna. You can see the likes of Ricciardo, Hamilton looking to get into the fray. But I'm extending the gap to Perez and Norris. I've extended the gap by over a second to those guys, to the point where, yeah, I'm not sure they're going to finish second and third. Pierre Gasly is in second, but on the hard compound tyres and keeping the gap to those guys. Into the pit lane we go for our one and only pit stop. We're going onto the soft compound tyres, and I tell you what, if we rejoin in the lead here, it's game over for anyone else in this race. They're not going to catch me. As we rejoin on the circuit, it's going to be crucial. We don't get Gasly, that's fine. But what about Norris and Perez? There they are. We have the lead, the effective lead of the Italian Grand Prix. I'm not even looking at Gasly. He's on hard compound tyres. This race is as good as done. For me, anyway. Unfortunately, Senna he's looking pretty vulnerable at this stage. He's now getting gobbled up by everyone. So, double podium, possibly off the cards. But a race win with Max Verstappen down the order is massive for our championship conquest. Anyway, last corner. We are opening the DRS here. We've actually purposely stayed behind Pierre Gasly for the last half a lap to try and get DRS as we start our first flying lap on the soft compound tyres, because we're going to go for a fastest lap of the Grand Prix. So let's have a running fastest lap here if we can. Hopefully no track limits warnings. That would not be ideal. Again, Norris and Perez still battling away behind through turns 1 and 2, which is just allowing me to run away with this race. They have effectively handed the race to me on a silver platter. That said, though, we still had to earn it. Anyway, through the middle sector, chicane. Pretty nice through there. Lesmo 1 and 2. Oh, my goodness, that was close on track limits. Through Lesmo 2. Fifth gear on the power, nice and early. Pretty much extending as far as you can get away with. That probably should have been 2 warnings there in those last 2 corners, but we are really pushing the envelope here. And I think at this point, it doesn't matter if we get a penalty. We are that much faster than the rest of the field. Unless there's a safety car, we should be okay. Very flying run out of the Ascari chicane. Just a couple of downshifts and bang, straight to 100% throttle once again. The car is magnificently balanced. Even though we're running low downforce, we're able to carry such speed through these high-speed corners up to the line. And that is a gargantuan lap. 116 point... Oh, no! Gasly is out of the Grand Prix. He was running so well in P2.
I didn't follow him.
Oh, Man, he did not deserve that. He was having such a good race in the Alpine, made the most of the undercut, and was looking good for a season best result in that Alpine. That is a real shame. Perez back up to P2, Norris third. That does help out my teammate, Ayrton Senna. I think he might be in P6 or P7. But that does also help Max Verstappen in this race. He is one step closer to us in terms of points. So let's have a little recap down the order. Again, those two squabbling away for P2. That's going to continue for the rest of the Grand Prix, I'd imagine. Max Verstappen, we'll get an update on him in a second, but we're just romping away from the rest of the field. It's been like at least a second a lap, maybe second and a half a lap. Depends on how much they battle, to be honest. But now we're just romping through all the lap cars, hoping to get DRS and go for another fastest lap. But I don't think that's the case. We're 2 tenths down at the second sector interval. But unfortunately, we didn't go purple that time. We're still pulling away by an absolute margin now. Here's the final rundown of the guys further down the order. There is Max Verstappen. He's currently in P9. So if we can keep this together, this will be a massive gain for us in the driver's standings. We absolutely needed this. 100 points behind him in the driver's standings heading into this race. But we need to bring it home. We need to make sure we actually finish this Grand Prix. For the last 10 minutes, I have been convincing myself, or just, I don't know, had my fingers crossed, hoping that this car wouldn't fall apart. We have had 3 failures this season, which has more than put us out of contention for this championship. And I've been praying that this thing will hold together, because our luck has been atrocious this season. But the same can't be said for today. We have absolutely dominated the Italian Grand Prix.
Fantastic. You've won the Grand Prix.
Finally, back to the winners list. More of this, please. The fight for the championship starts now.
A hard-fought win today then, after a very difficult race. Tell me, Ant, how did they manage to achieve this win?
I think we'll chalk this one up to a deft touch on the brake pedal. That's allowed them to challenge down the inside into the braking zones, and ultimately, if you do that often enough, you end up winning the race. It was great to watch as well though, wasn't it? Forget strategy, forget tyre management. Who doesn't love a good old-fashioned scrap?
Welcome then to the podium, our top 3 drivers. What a great effort from them today in a very difficult race.
Boom. Race win at the Italian Grand Prix, and a McLaren double podium as well. So Ricciardo's overtaken Perez right at the last grasp. Red Bull will be feeling pretty dirty about that. Perez in a position to win the race potentially for a lot of that race, or at least fighting away with Norris for P2 for the majority of that race. And then doesn't even get a podium. That is rather unlucky. But there we go, guys. We took a risk starting on the medium compound tyres. We could have easily been left for dead for pace. I was worried that our pace wasn't going to be good enough after what happened in qualifying. But thankfully, we were able to hold on to DRS to the race leaders. And when we did start overtaking people, we overtook effectively. We overtook cleanly without losing too much time. It was a very efficient drive in that first stint, which massively set us up to win that race. We were able to hold on with slower tyres, and then we were basically on the leaders when they were making their pit stop. So for the second half of the Grand Prix, I had all this pace, and the AI had no answer. We were able to get outside of DRS by measure of the overcut, and it was GG. Some big gains in the driver's standings. We are like 83 points behind Max Verstappen still. So by no means are we in the fight just yet. But it's a start. It's hopefully a turning point in this season. Max Verstappen with an unforced error. Big mistake for him today. Could be a turning point and a big win for us. Let's keep this up as we head into the next Grand Prix. I think it might be Singapore. I am pretty good there, so I'm hoping for another big 25-point haul in the next race. But we need some of the other drivers to start stepping up and taking the fight to Max Verstappen as well. We need some reliability failures to affect Red Bull. Who knows, they might have some grid penalties, which will certainly help things. But we also have some grid penalties of our own to take care of to get to the end of the season. With that said, thank you guys so much for watching. Leave a like if you enjoyed. Subscribe to the channel if you're new to see plenty more racing game content. Let me know down in the comments if you think this championship is at all winnable. It's not going to be easy. It's going to be near on impossible, but if there's even a slither of a chance that we can win this thing, I'm going to take it. Until the next one, I'll see you next time.